it's probably an experience different from any other year in office. So tell me about what has it been like being mayor and managing COVID-19?
Well, I would say that it's an experience that we all went through together as a new one, and that's probably where, for a mayor, it was very different from, for example, a flooding or even like that type of events where usually there's a protocol, there's things that needs to be done. Where for a pandemic, we've never experienced that, so we had to start from scratch, go with our instinct, go with what we felt was the right thing with the information at that time. And I think this is probably where it was getting difficult, because sometimes we would have information based on how the situation would evolve. We would take decision, but then a week, 2 weeks after, it would be totally different. So it was quite a challenge.
So in that, what lessons did you learn? I mean, this is the first time you're dealing with this.
Yes, a lot of things. Well, the first lesson is that at least I felt really well supported by the city of Montreal, because we have the chance to have a coordination center when big events like this one, even though no one experienced that before, but with police officers and fire workers, and so that was good. I felt really well surrounded. But I think what I've learned is how to find make a proposition to citizens in terms of, again, with the information we had. And I have a very specific example in mind. If you want, I can
Of
share
course.
this with you. During the summer in May, we decided to do a cycling path and pedestrian streets. And when we took the decision in May, nobody was wearing a mask. It was not even mandatory at that time. And all we could hear in the news and from coming from the government was, take your distance, keep your distance, 2 meters. And so this is why in May we decided to do, okay, a lot of Montrealers won't be able to go. Maybe they don't have a chalet or they won't be able to travel. So let's give them space. But we know that afterwards, and it was not always easy, I hear it. But in July, we all had masks. It was the numbers were going low. We were in a total different place. But we took the decision in May when it felt the right thing to do.
Absolutely. So looking back, is there one thing or any moment that you say, okay, maybe I should have done this differently? Is there one instance of that?
Definitely, like I said, the cycling path and pedestrian. I don't regret it at all. For me, it was the right thing to do. But we could have, we should have communicated. We should have communicated better and more in advance, because people were like, "Oh, there's a pedestrian street in front of me now." So they were feeling a bit lost, and especially when the pandemic was creating a lot of anxiety for people, right? A lot of stress. So that to be added. So even if the intention was really good and a lot of people appreciated, it did create some stress for people.
What was the stress like for you? I mean, I'm sure you didn't sleep well for 9 months. So tell me about that, you personally, but also as mayor. I mean, you have loved ones as well at home, so you
Yes,
must be
yes.
worried.
I feel sometimes that I will probably experience as a human being the COVID once it's all over. I haven't had a lot of time to think about that so much, to be honest. And like you said, caring about my kids and my husband and friends and family, but mostly about Montrealers, because this is why I got elected for, and I take this job very seriously. But every time I was feeling down or just overwhelmed, I would definitely think about the people that don't even have the privilege to have a roof on top of their head. For example, who are those people that are in normal life already dealing with a lot, and with a COVID, with a pandemic, they're just the one that are hit even more. So this is where I would get my courage to move on, and to deal also with a lot of the criticism, because if there's one thing that I have found very difficult this year, and especially in the last 3-4 months, is how people are being very critical, but in a very, very strong way. It's quite black or white. There's not so much gray areas in the middle, and I think it goes with how people are feeling. I think they're themselves feeling overwhelmed and stressed and upset and mad because we're not going to be able to celebrate a holiday and all these things.
And you mentioned the holidays. What are your plans now for the holidays? As you know, we're not really supposed to be doing anything. And what do you suggest Montrealers do to get through this period?
That's a very good question. As for myself, I will definitely spend some time with the kids and, go outside. And this is definitely what I want Montrealers to do. There's a bit of snow outside, and hopefully there'll be more, so we can enjoy skiing and, doing some skating as well. And what the decision we've made is to put all the material, whatever the material in parks, free for under 18. And that is quite a lot, but I definitely wanted to give the opportunity, I wanted people to feel like, okay, maybe I don't have a lot of money. Maybe I don't have skis, but okay, I'll go try it on Parc Jean Drapeau or Parc du Mont Royal and just take some air. But I'm definitely asking Montrealers to respect the rules. The numbers are high. It's a difficult situation, and we need to respect the rules and stay with our own bubble and celebrate in a very, I would say, different way. But it is important. We need to think about the people, all the employees in the health network that are tired and exhausted, and to think about people that are the most vulnerable right now.
Absolutely. Do you think Montrealers should be, calling the police if they're seeing people break these rules?
Oh, I have to say, I was very disappointed last week when, I was asked in a press conference, if you see some people having a party, should you call the police? And I said, well, if there is a big party, yes. And from there, it turned out to be a call for délation, or to call to say to people, like, I don't want people to be in their windows looking at, oh, this person is doing this or that. Absolutely not. This is not my style. I've never been like that. But at the same time, when you see a protest walk like this Sunday, when people are walking and saying, like, this is not true, what's going on in the hospitals, and I am upset and I am mad. And it is for those people that I think that if they're being a bunch of people together celebrating, not thinking about the healthcare people and the 1,500 people that died in Montreal during the first wave. Well, those ones, I do think they should be police officer at their doorstep. But for the rest, we are, a community. Montrealers are open, and of course we're solidaire, which is such a great value, and I don't want that to change. But yes, if there's a big party, happening across the street, music comes out of the window, and there's like 5 cars in front of the house, well, I think you might want to call the police.
Okay. I have one question from a Montrealer, and they say, what are you going to do to help restore our travel and tourism sector in the coming year after a disastrous 2020?
Great question, because my priority is definitely the economic recovery, and the restaurants and bars and festivals and the cultural scene are huge in Montreal. That's what makes Montreal so vibrant and dynamic. So I'm working with different level of governments, because of course Montreal doesn't have the capacity, financial capacity, to hold together everyone. But definitely it is as we work as a team that it's going to be useful. And we just voted a budget of $60 million to support areas that are mostly in crisis, and those ones are crucial. So there's a tons of elements that will be shared during the next coming months, but I am definitely behind. I truly believe that we can go through this, and it will be with including all those partners.
As much as 2020 was dominated by COVID, the pandemic, a lot more went on in our city, right? We're dealing with systemic racism, homelessness, gun violence. Your administration proposed so many different things. Do you think it was enough to tackle these big files this year as you were dealing with this major pandemic?
I have to say, because of the pandemic, some of the big subject, the ones you just named, are so important as a society. I was a bit disappointed because they got put on the side, right? Or when we think about systemic racism, which is so important, and we embarked, the city of Montreal decided to say yes, there is some systemic and racism and discrimination, and yes, let's move forward. Same thing with everything related to housing. We're putting so much efforts, but somehow, the pandemic brings us back to what we need to deal with right now. And probably the file that I wouldn't say disappointed, but I wish it would not have lost its momentum is environment. Because not this September, but the September 2019, we were 500,000 walking in the streets of Montreal saying, we want change, we want our politician to act. And because of the pandemic, of course, we've put that a bit of aside. But I don't want us to forget about our goals. And I want to continue to work on ecological transition. We just presented a plan, which was well welcomed, but I want to push this forward, even though the pandemic is still there, because it is now for when we think about the environment, it's about the next generation. So we need to act for them.
For sure. So 2021, turning the page on 2020.
Yes.
Heading into an election year, campaign year, what will your priorities be then? Still dealing with the pandemic, I'm sure.
Yes.
What will that look like for you?
Well, like you said, I mean, it's almost like I feel like my day-to-day job now is to have our priorities, but always having the pandemic crisis. So we need to balance and to move things around, because the pandemic is the priority. But definitely 2021 will be about the economic recovery that I want, that has to be green and inclusive. This is so crucial. We have an opportunity now to define what would be an economic recovery. How can it look in 2020? And of course, there's a campaign coming up. But to be honest, for me right now, I'm really focusing on those two things, and everything that is part of my day-to-day job. But it will be for at least until the end of spring, really related to making sure that no one's left behind.
Any thoughts on Denis Coderre running again?
Oh, well, people ask me this question a lot, but we'll see who will be in front of me for I will be running against. And to be honest, I'm hoping that there will be a diversity of candidates, and I hope there's going to be other women, because I was the first woman elected mayor in Montreal. And I hope that there's other women that feels like, okay, let's go for this. That's really what I'm hoping for.
Fantastic. So just to cap it off, putting an end to this year, what do you say to Montrealers? What is your message, and any wishes for the holidays?
Yeah. Well, Montrealers, I want to say thank you to you all, because you did amazing efforts and you've been so resilient. And I know how hard it's been for you throughout this year. And we can go through this. We can do it together. We can do it in solidarity. I'm really confident that 2021, with the vaccine, but also with great projects that we will be presenting in 2021, will be a sign of hope. So enjoy the holiday in a very safe way, and can't wait to see you in 2021.
Thank you so much, Mayor Plante. I appreciate your time.
You.
Happy holidays to you and your family. Wishing you safe and healthy New Year.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Have a great day.